Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? Happy Tuesday. I hope your day and your week have started really well. And I hope that you are having some really great reading going on. I am in the lovely city of Redding, California. As you know, I travel for work, so I'm from my hotel room. Right behind you is an amazing view. Redding is in Northern California. There are forests and trees and fall is coming. It is a beautiful day here, so I cannot complain. This city has really given me a beautiful day to film this video for you, so I'm super excited. This video has also got a great topic because it is my time to review the long list for the National Book Award for Fiction. As I told you in a previous video, I went through all 10 books. Well, I've officially read them all, and today I'm going to review them for you really quickly, and then I'm going to announce for you what I think is going to be on the short list. Because tomorrow, October 10th, they will actually announce the short list for all of the National Book Awards. And so I wanted to get this video out to you so you can kind of see what I think about the list and what I would put through to the next round. So the books that I have beside me are all in alphabetical order by author. I'll go through them to review and then we'll go from there, okay? Let's start. The first book I'm going to talk to you about is the short story collection, A Lucky Man by Jamel Brinkley. This is out from Grey Wolf. This is a phenomenally strong short story collection. It's interesting, there are 3 short story collections on the long list. I had a very different reaction to all 3 of them. Jamel Brinkley really focuses on the male experience in regards to relationships, family interaction, friendship, and he has a very distinct, strong, masculine writing style and tone. I really think he is a brilliant writer, and I believe that this short story collection deserves all the acclaim that it is getting. For me, I struggle with short stories because I always want them to be slightly longer, or I want them to be turned into a novel, and that was definitely my feeling here, because as soon as I sort of got into the groove, the story would be over. The other thing is, the sense of masculinity was a little bit overwhelming to me in that it just didn't connect. It didn't vibe with me as well as I'm sure it will with many, many people. There are no shortcomings to this. This is a very strong collection. He has a great sense of character, a great writing style, and a lot of talent. It just wasn't a book that was for me specifically as a reader, but I definitely think it has a lot of merit. So if you like short story collections and you haven't read Jamel Brinkley's collection, you probably should, because I think he's a writer to watch moving forward. Okay. The next book on the list is out from Hogarth, and that is Gun Love by Jennifer Clement. This is the story of Pearl and her mother. Pearl is a young girl. She is short and small in stature. She's very unique looking. There's sort of this idea that she may be even albino. She's very pale, got very pale hair. Her and her mother literally live in their car, parked outside of a trailer park. Her mom, when she had Pearl, ran away from home. The indications are that her mother had came from a very rich and very well-to-do lifestyle, and then decided to leave with Pearl because she didn't believe her family would support her having a daughter. So they live in their car. They have a very, as you can imagine, unique living situation. Pearl does go to school. Her mother works at the start of the novel in a VA hospital as a cleaning woman. Pearl is a character you will never forget. She is well depicted for her oddities, and she has such a unique perspective on both people, the world, because of the way she's been raised. And I think that she's one of the really great characters in this stack of books. Now, there's a tragedy that occurs about halfway through. I don't want to give that away, that changes Pearl's life and sort of its direction. I think the first half of this book is stronger than the second half of the book. And I think that Pearl as a character loses a little bit of her bite towards the end. And sort of also the story sort of goes in a different direction that I think lacks a little bit of credibility. However, I really enjoy Jennifer Clement's writing style. Interestingly enough, I'm going to talk about this in actually a couple of the books. Pearl is very young. She's like 10 or 11 when the book starts, and she's like a heavy duty smoker, and she steals cigarettes and smokes with her friends. And I don't know, I could be completely out of the loop, very much so, but that sort of dictates and is a lot of who she is and a lot of the story. And I thought that was very interesting. But I also think that Pearl, when she starts to develop who she's going to be, I think as she grows older, the connection between her youth and her adulthood sort of lost itself for me a little bit. I recommend this book very much. I thought it was very easily read, very well written. Character of Pearl is unforgettable. I just think for me, the first half was way stronger than the second half. So that's Gun Love by Jennifer Clement, book number 2. Book number 3, the second collection of short stories, is Florida by Lauren Groff. I've already told you guys how much I love Lauren Groff. All of these short stories have some sort of connection to the state of Florida, should it be the actual location, the people that live there. I read this a long time ago, and I have a hard time recalling a lot of the specifics of what the book or the short stories were about. So this goes back to my issue with short stories that don't go into enough detail. I think, as always, Lauren Groff is an amazing writer, and I think she does a lot of really great things in here. I prefer her as a novelist, but I definitely see the merits in getting this onto the short list. I think that if you like short story collections, you'll probably connect with this more than I did. But I think I understand why it's here. I understand that Lauren Groff took a theme and did some really interesting things with it, things that you wouldn't expect. And she just has a turn of phrase or a way with words that I think is really strong. So I recommend it. I recommend it especially if you're a short story person. For me, I would just always recommend her novels before her short stories. I think that that's the way I would go. But that's who I am as a reader. You guys know that. The next book on the list is just great. Oh, I should say that this is out from Riverhead Books, if you guys wanted to know that. And all of these books are out and available. The next book is The Boatbuilder by Daniel Gumbiner. This is out by McSweeney. This was, to me, is kind of the surprise on the long list. I would say this is the story of Berg. And Berg is a young man who has suffered an injury, a head injury, and suffers from headaches, which has led him into an opiate addiction. He has moved to a small town where he's taking care of someone's house, looking for a job, sort of looking for a way to restart his life, I would argue. The book has sort of a fabulistic aspect to it. He winds up becoming under the tutelage of a man who builds boats from scratch, and those boats are being used for, let's just say, darker reasons. But he really does learn about boat building, and the guy who is, I want to say his name is Alejandro, who takes him on, definitely becomes sort of a mentor about life and how to look at things. This book is very, very good. It is, but it's simplistic in its writing style, simplistic in its story. It just misses some meat. It just misses a little bit of oomph. I highly recommend it. I would definitely give it to a lot of people, but it just doesn't have the gumption to make the short list for me. But I definitely enjoyed it, and I definitely think it was a good read. And I liked the moral of the story, if that makes sense. So that's The Boatbuilder by Daniel Gumbiner. The next is the first book that we're going to talk about with a Native American theme, and that's Where the Dead Sit Talking by Brandon Hobson. This is out by Soho. This is the young story of Sequoia. Sequoia is a young man who, at the start of the novel, his mother is in prison and he is in foster care. He lives in a home, but not a foster home, sort of, and with a bunch of different teens. And he is then moved into a foster home with an older couple and 2 other foster children, Rosemary and George. Rosemary is slightly older than him. George is younger. I want to say George is somewhere on the spectrum. He is actually a very interesting character, though he is not as developed as the other 2. Rosemary is an older girl who has the mystery. Sequoia becomes sort of fascinated with her. He is, and Sequoia, I'm going to just tell you right now, Sequoia is a dark character. He has a lot of angles and things to him that are fascinating. I read a brief review of this where Roxane Gay really does speak to the fact that Sequoia is a character and a narrator that you will get sort of behind and want to figure out. Overall, the plot is he moves into the family, and the girl is suffering from different sort of mental illnesses and depression, and they all have had really rough lives, and his fascination with her and where that leads him and the decisions. The plot, the overall arc of the book is not as solid as that character. Sequoia really stands out as the thing that you should know about in this book. But I felt a real sense of, one, the book takes place in Oklahoma. You get a real sense of rural Oklahoma. You get a real sense of Sequoia as a person. He is Native American, and he talks a little bit about how that formulates who he is. He's had a rough life, and definitely you get a lot of how that formulates who he is as a person. I really enjoyed this book. I think it had a lot going for it. It's solid. But it's inconsistent overall. But I definitely think that people should read it. I think I've never heard of Brandon Hobson, and I definitely am interested to know what he has done and what he will do moving forward. So that's Where the Dead Sit Talking by Brandon Hobson. The next book really needs no discussion, and that's An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. This is the story of a young couple where the husband is thrown into prison for a crime he did not commit. This is the story of their marriage. And there's a third narrator in this book, and that's the best friend to the wife, who becomes sort of her shoulder to lean on once her husband is in prison. This book is about how prison affects a relationship and how putting someone in prison, even wrongfully accused or even accused correctly, how that affects relationships. Tayari Jones does a fantastic job in the relationship between the two. As I've said in my reviews in the past, I thought that the extra character of Dre, who is the best friend, I felt he interrupted the overall narrative. I wasn't as connected to him as I was to Celestial and Roy. I thought they were really the strong pieces to this. It definitely talks about something that's important in our current structure of our society, and I really enjoyed this book for a lot of reasons. And definitely liked it. I've talked about it a bunch. So that's An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. The next book is what I would argue is the most complete story and completely engrossing novel on the list, and that is The Great Believers by Rebecca Makkai. I've done many a discussion of this. This is the story set in two parts. It's set in the 1980s, 85, 86, in Chicago during the AIDS crisis. Our main character is Yale. He is dealing with a lot of his friends getting sick and also his partner at the time. It's also about him trying to get a collection of art into a gallery where he is working, and sort of the dynamics of that. And it's the art gallery is on Northwestern, so there's all sorts of sort of political intrigue with the school regarding taking this art installation. It's about family, it's about friends, and it's about loss. The second story is about a woman, a mother, who has gone to France in search of her daughter. Her daughter had left because she had joined sort of this religious cult and had escaped, but never sort of connected back to her mother. And her mother has been searching for her. There's so much good about this book. The stories interweave in such a way that doesn't feel forced. All of the emotion is there. The characters are there. The research into 1985 gay culture in Chicago as well, so beautifully represented. I bawled my eyes out. This to me is one of the strong contenders on this list, and I really, really enjoyed everything about this novel. Highly, highly recommend. The next book on the list is The Friend by Sigrid Nunez. This was the book that I didn't really know much about, but I had seen the cover a lot. So this is the story, our narrator, her friend has committed suicide at the start, and she winds up adopting her being given his dog, which is this Great Dane. But this book is very little about that relationship, no matter what the blurb tells you. This is a philosophical and emotional text about dealing with loss. How do you deal with someone that you are very close to when they commit suicide. And the novel is written sort of in a diary format that she is writing to her friend who has passed away. It talks about loss from many different angles, from the dog's perspective, from her perspective. It interweaves literature discussions. It's very ethereal. It's very thought-provoking, but the plot is very straightforward. This is a woman dealing with grief. There's a huge twist in the book, which I didn't see coming, which I truly enjoyed. And I really like, this is my kind of book. This is a book about an idea. It's a book about characters, but this book will not be for everyone. And I think that that is definitely something to take into consideration. If you like books with very little plot, but you like books that make you think and feel, The Friend by Sigrid Nunez will definitely do that for you. I really loved it. She's an amazing writer. But I can see how not everyone is going to sort of dig this book. So there you go. The next book is, to me, the most controversial book on the list, but also probably the biggest book on the list, and that's There by Tommy Orange. This book has gotten so much hype. I just read an article where Tommy Orange said that he wanted to represent the Native American culture outside of the sort of preconceived notions of their connection to nature and living out in the reservations, because he himself comes from Oakland, and there's a large population of Native Americans in Oakland living in a city, just in a normal city doing things. And I think he does that. I think that he interconnects. There are about 12 narrators, their stories. He really represents them as people, just in modern America, and sort of the struggles that they deal with. That is very well done. I think some of the characters, especially the females and the young boys, are really well described. Their emotional arc is strong. To me, the end of the book just becomes extremely predictable, and and I know that he was trying to do something different, but the end of the book to me becomes very much the same. And I will say I struggled very much with the dialogue. I felt that the dialogue was bumpy and rough, and that sometimes just I needed him to trust me as a reader. I know that a lot of people love this book. This will be the book that won't make my shortlist, but I bet you 100% that this book will make the shortlist. But it didn't work for me 100%, but I see what he was trying to do. I know why people really are responding to it. To me, it just became, after the first half, it just becomes like any other book about people trying to rob something and what goes on, because as you know, this story centers around a group of people planning to rob a powwow to steal the money that is being given away as awards. So there you go. So that's There by Tommy Orange. I know that a lot of people love this book, so plan to see this one on the short list. Last but not least is a short story collection that I had seen, never picked up, and am so thankful that I read. Heads of the Colored People by Nafissa Thompson-Spires is, in my opinion, sheer brilliance. It's a short story collection that didn't feel where any part was truncated. The first and the last stories had me on the edge of my seat. The last paragraph of the first story is amazing. I read the last story and was like, she's not going to. And then I had to read it again. She focuses on sort of middle class African-American life from different perspectives. Characters interweave. She deals with body image issues. She deals with parenting. She deals with stereotypes and racism. And she deals with everything, but every story is unique and fresh and powerful. Highly recommend this collection. It blew me away. It just blew me away. So there you go. So we're at minute 1960. So let me give you my short list really, really quick. I think that A Lucky Man by Jamel Brinkley deserves to be on the short list. I think it has something unique to say and is written in such a way that is amazing. I, as you guys can probably notice, totally feel like The Great Believers by Rebecca Makkai is the most complete overall novel and story on the list. I think it should make the short list. I think the short story collection, Heads of the Colored People, absolutely should make the list. And I think it's freaking brilliant. I really do. I think it's amazing. And I think everyone should read it and tell me about it. I think that An American Marriage by Tayari Jones will also make the list. To me, it's timely and has something to say about a part of the world and American society that needs to be delved into. I think Tayari Jones is a great writer. I didn't think that the book was not without issues, but I definitely know the merits, and I think a lot of people should read it, and I think it has a lot to say. Here's where it gets a little bit complicated. What did I have as book 5? I am going with Where the Dead Sit Talking by Brandon Hobson. To me, this book was the most unique narrator on the list, the most compelling narrator, and also someone who was dark and complex and well thought out. Again, I told you, I think the plot has a little bit of issues, and I think there are some things about it that don't always work, but to me, it is a book that I haven't stopped thinking about since I finished it. But I'm telling you, I think this will make the list. I'm pretty sure that There by Tommy Orange will probably be one of the 5. But you know, it is what it is. It's my short list based upon the 10, and that is what I have my short list is. If you were to ask me, it would be these 5 books. There you go. And my winner, hands down, there is no dispute, if I were to pick right now, would be Heads of the Colored People by Nafissa Thompson-Spires. To me, it was the book that blew me away the most of this list. So there you go. I know this video ran a little long, but it's hard to review 10 books and give you a short list. As always, if you are a return subscriber to my channel, thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you're new and this is the first time that you've been here, I hope you like my mini reviews. And I'm so fascinated to know what all of you think about the long list and which book you would pick to win. I will come back to do a review of the short list and pick my winner from that list when that comes out before the award. But there you go. Hope you're all having a great day. As always, happy reading, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.